the ability to make distinctions, to distinguish between things that seem to be alike, seem to be the same, is a very important part of human intelligence. Just a quick example. The difference between existing and living is huge. The difference is this. To exist means to occupy space. To exist in the physical world, you have to occupy your space, which means you don't allow another into the same space. So a book on the shelf occupies its space. You can't put another book there. Air, fire, water, earth, they all occupy space. Even a thought in your mind occupies space. You can't think two thoughts at the same time. A feeling in the heart occupies space. That's why we say the heart is full. So the definition of existence is simply occupying its space. Obviously, there's more tangible space, like the book on the shelf, and there is emotional space or mental space. But they all restrict access to their space. They don't share it. Now, when it comes to a living being, there's also the demands that existence makes. In order to exist, a human being must eat, must drink, must be protected from the elements, must have a roof over their head. Many demands. And when all of these conditions are met, he can continue to take up space. That's the definition of existence. Everything that exists also has life. Life means the effect, the contribution that you make by existing. Very different. Life makes no demands. There are no conditions to living, meaning whatever your existence is, from the finest to the worst, from the biggest to the smallest, you always have a contribution that you're making, a difference that you're making. So life makes no demands. It's what you do, what you bring to the world by your existence. So, for example, fire has a life. It brings warmth, creates light. Water has a life, but it's different. Water makes things grow, keeps things cool. Even a stone has a life because it contributes stability. A house made out of stone is more stable than a house made out of straw. So everything exists and lives. Everything. In the human being, there are times when existence and living are in conflict. When I have a room all to myself, a large auditorium, all to myself, I have all that space. Good for my existence. But talking to an empty room is not a life. So when the room fills up with people, my existence is diminished, but my life is enhanced. I have someone to talk to. Anytime there's a conflict between existing and living, the intelligent thing to do is give up the existence in favor of life. Now, this will explain so many things that we don't have time to get into, but just a few examples. What is it with teenagers? Why are they angry? They live in your house for free. They get whatever they want if they bother you long enough. What are they angry about? And everywhere in the world, when you talk to teenagers, they will tell you the same thing. They're angry because my mother ruined my whole life. Notice that it's always the whole life. Teenagers are not good at fractions. Now that's a serious accusation. My mother ruined my whole life. But of course, it's not true. For two reasons. First of all, teenagers don't have a life. They got to get a life. So there's nothing for their mothers to ruin. Secondly, you can't ruin life. Existence comes in many flavors. There are people who have a magnificent existence. They've got a place of their own. They have every need that existence demands. They have food, they have drink, they have safety, they have fame, they have love, they have a support system. They've got it all. Their existence is wonderful. And then there are people whose existence is meager. They barely exist. But life comes in only one flavor, sacred. So you cannot ruin life, just like salt can't go bad. What mothers do, they humble your existence. Because if you're proud to exist, you're proud of your existence, your mother, simply by being your mother, humbles your existence, because you owe it all to her. But mothers don't ruin lives. Another example. The existence of the Jewish people. Everyone remarks and puzzles this strange phenomenon. How is it that other nations have come and gone? Richer, bigger, stronger. The Jew is still here. This is the distinction between existing and living. Those nations that are gone, all they wanted was to exist, to ensure their continued existence. They built huge cities, fortified, developed huge armies, amassed a lot of wealth. They were going to exist, and they don't exist. Jewish history was different. We were told before we entered the promised land, Moses told us, you're not going to have a good existence. You're going to get scattered. You're going to be reduced to a fraction of your number. You're going to be living in other people's countries where you may not be welcome at all. Your existence, not so special. Therefore, you be busy living. Now here's an amazing thing. Throughout our history, we were most productive when our existence was down to a thread. We produced the greatest scholars, the greatest study institutions, the greatest charity institutions. We were alive. And an interesting thing happens. When you're fully alive, your existence kind of takes care of itself. A doctor in the time of a plague. Everyone else gets sick, the doctor doesn't get sick. He doesn't even get tired. Because sick and tired always come together, right? He doesn't get tired. He skips meals. Stays up all night. Superman. The explanation is, when you're so fully alive, when your contribution is so obvious, so urgent, so real, you are fully alive. And then your existence is not so demanding. That is the secret of Jewish survival. But it needn't be a secret. If you're focused on life, if you're focused on what you are needed for, your own needs kind of fade. You're not so needy. So here's the distinction between living and existing. Existing is needs. Needs, you're needy. Religiously speaking, for your needs, you are completely dependent on God. You got to pray to Him, you got to depend on Him, you got to trust in Him, you got to believe in Him, and you got to hope He likes you so that He will continue your existence. But a relationship with God is life. Because when you can serve, when you can make a difference in God's world, when you can promote His purpose in creation and bring the world to its perfection, now you are doing what you are needed for. So it comes down to a simple question. Would you rather be needy, or would you rather be needed? Not such a difficult decision. In fact, it turns out the human being would rather be needed than loved. We would rather be needed than respected. In fact, when we know we're needed, we can do without pretty much anything else. We were created with a purpose. We were created to serve. We are partners in creation. All I need to know is, what do you want me to do? How can I be of help? That's life. The rest, just existence.